He's back and ranting again. Welcome back, guys, to Fog Wrestling. Eric Bischoff is once again bashing AEW. And they say that broken watches are right twice a day. And that's what I kind of feel like with Eric Bischoff. I wouldn't say he's a broken watch, and he's definitely correct. When he bashes AEW, when he says AEW sucks, he's correct. He's telling the truth. But he does seem to say it all the time. I'd say he probably bashes AEW at least twice a day. And he is doing it again. So when being interviewed on his podcast, the topic of AEW being an alternative to WWE came up, and Bischoff pretty much just shot this down, and he says that it's not an alternative to WWE because there's so much bad wrestling in AEW, which I totally agree with on Eric Bischoff, to be honest. All you have to do is watch AEW, and it is full of bad wrestling. It's full of bad wrestlers. It's full of people that aren't even wrestlers, let's be honest. It's full of people pretending to be professional wrestlers, and I couldn't even put the name professional in there. They're pretending to be amateur wrestlers. How about that? Anyway, when asked about AEW being a close alternative and a second option for big time wrestling, Eric Bischoff said, and I quote, "They failed on that because 80% of the in-ring presentation is less than. The Jungle Boy silly nonsense. I mean, there's so much bad wrestling in AEW, they don't care about that. As long as they get their blood, as long as they get the one thing that they're looking for." End of quote. So, I mean, yeah, he's right. You know, as long as they get to bleed, as long as they get to do their big spot, as long as they get to do their no-sell, as long as they get to do their flip or their super kick or their big dive, as long as they get to get their shit in, they don't care about the product. They don't care about actually putting on good matches. I mean, Dean Ambrose, John Moxley, this guy probably thinks because he fucking bleeds, he's cool, he's hardcore. I mean, not really. Women bleed once a month. Does that make them great? No. Does that make them hardcore? Fuck no. It's just a bit of blood, mate. Get over it. You bleeding massively from the forehead doesn't automatically make you a great wrestler. It doesn't make your match great. So, there's just so much of that crap in AEW. He then went on to talk about how if he did what AEW do in WCW, he'd have got bashed for it. WCW would have got trashed, but he says that there's people that are showing favouritism, there's people that are watching AEW with their blinkers on, and I totally agree with that. I think just some people are desperate for WWE to fail. Some people don't like the direction WWE's went in, and AEW appear to have grabbed all those fans. And I myself don't like the direction that WWE's in, but fuck me, AEW is going in a different direction from the WWE, but an even worse direction. AEW is garbage, but I think they do appeal to. AEW appeal to wrestling fans that don't actually know what wrestling is, man. A lot of AEW fans think, oh, look at this. These guys can do 20 million flips and they bleed in every match, so that means it's great. They automatically see a bit of blood and they think that's better than a match without blood. You know, AEW fans, I would go as far as saying they actually don't know what wrestling is. So when they see 10 guys do super kicks, 10 super kicks in 5 seconds and nobody's even selling it, they think that's great. And in reality, that's just fucking killing wrestling, guys. So Eric Bischoff, totally correct here in what he said. And I mean, Kurt Angle came out today and Kurt Angle spoke about how McMahon let him and Shawn Michaels decide the finish of their WrestleMania 21 match, and Shawn Michaels came to Kurt and says, look, I'm going to put you over. It's going to be better for you because you're going to work a program with Cena soon, and if you get this big win, it'll work better for the program and work it better for you and the company. And it's like, Jesus Christ, that's back in an era when wrestling was fucking important and they actually treated it important and they actually thought about the overall product and what they could do to make things better. They don't even think about that now. In wrestling today, it's so fucking selfish. People will criticise Shawn Michaels, and yeah, maybe he was a bit of a dick in the 90s, but I mean, there's Shawn Michaels putting over Angle at WrestleMania for the good of Kurt Angle, for the good of Cena, so that he's got a stronger opponent to go against, for the good of the company, and so that the world title feud with Cena and Angle is more important. It just feels more credible. Whereas nowadays, all these guys care about is, let me get my shit in, let me do my super kick, let me do my dive over the top rope, or let me bleed all over the place. I mean, it's fucking garbage, and Eric Bischoff is right to criticise it. The one thing I do wish, though, I mean, like Bischoff, Vince Russo, these guys are constantly coming out criticising today's wrestling, and they're right. Look, today's wrestling sucks, but I mean, what are they doing? They're not doing anything about it. I just wish, instead of them constantly criticising it, why couldn't they prove like these big companies wrong? Why can't they actually get in charge of a company and show us the correct way, show us how to make wrestling good in 2023? It's okay them on podcast talking a good game, they can say this, they can say that, but at the end of the day, I mean, I suppose they're not having to work with these fucking jabrones in wrestling. If Vince Russo came back to WWE, if Eric Bischoff went to AEW, I don't see either one of those guys making the company great. Could they make it a bit better? Possibly, yeah, of course, why not? But, I mean, I just don't see how anyone with the wrestlers that we have in wrestling today, I just don't see how we're making it great. And Vince Russo, I mean, I like Russo, and he always talks about the attitude there and how it was the most viewed, most successful. I get that. But look at who Russo had to work with. The guy had Austin, the guy had Rock, Foley, Taker, for fuck's sake. You name all those guys that he had. Look who he'd be working with today. I mean, look at the bums that he'd be working with in WWE today. So could Russo do in WWE today what he did back in the 90s? Highly unlikely. And the same for Bischoff. Look at what Bischoff had in WCW. Hell, look at the shit he had in TNA. Look at the amount of stars he had in TNA before him and Hogan ran that company into the ground. So yeah, I mean, it's easy for them to sit here and say wrestling sucks, and it does suck. I totally agree. But could they make wrestling great again? That, I don't think so. Anyway, guys, that's it. I'll catch you in the next one. Speaking of AEW and AEW sucking, the review is coming on later tonight, so yeah. I've got the joys of sitting and watching AEW. Can't wait, guys. Catch you in the next one. Peace.